Having been a convention chair for the National Speakers Association, I know what it's like to watch 100 speaker demos. You want to see the person in action. If he's any good, get on with it. If he's bad, let's get it over with. So enough of this introduction. I want you to see me in action in front of 1,000 very enthusiastic members of the American Health Information Managers Association in San Francisco, California. I hope you enjoy it.
Best manager I've reported to, Stanford Linear Accelerator, Palo Alto, California. I helped build the mile-long electron microscope that they have at Stanford. That was my initial job. I was 17. My title was a lab technician. That was my title. I drove a truck. I don't know why they called me a lab technician, but now I'm sure it was for funding purposes. That guy had on his wall a statement I'll never forget. Every person that works for me knows something better than I. My job is to listen long enough to find it and use it. Every single week he took a 15-minute walk with each one of his direct reports. I had never worked for anybody before, so I didn't know what really being a manager was. And then I met Jack, and I figured it out. Managers walk with people. And I'm walking with this guy, and he said, Terry, you've been here a week now. I take a walk with each of my people each week, and your day's going to be Friday. And I said, fine. He says, I just want to ask you, Terry, what's been working for you this week? I was 17 years old. A lot of things had worked for me. I'd done pretty well in sports, and I had done well as a student. But nobody had ever asked me that question. What kind of questions do we ask teenagers? How's it going in school? Isn't that a common question? Because you're concerned about schoolwork. How's it going in school? Is it going well? Sports. Hey, hey, hey. Are you dating? What's happening? Are you on drugs? Very seldom do you say to a teenager what's working for you. I was blown away by that question. It was a construction project. I'm glad we were walking because I couldn't think of anything. And I'm walking with this guy. What's working? What's working? And I finally said, well, the guys taught me how to load the truck. Because we have very sensitive equipment. I know there's a certain way of doing that, and I've been working on that. And he said, good, Terry, I'm glad you learned from the guys. But I want you to know something. When I first hired you, I knew there was something special about you. In fact, I expect to learn something from you this summer. You talked about mentors, right? I mean, I looked at this guy like, oh, you're just too far away. You don't remember what a teenager's like here. I'm male, I'm making money, hormone with pants, get out of my way. And the interesting thing, I will never forget him, because every single week he asked that stupid question. He ruined my summer. Ruined my summer. Because every single week he asked that question. I remember vividly the next week he asked me the same question. I had a better answer the second week. Every week he answered that. He is the best listener I have ever reported to in my life. He was more excited about our ideas than he was of his own. I was the only summer employee. Twice that summer he said, Terry, I love that idea so much. Would you mind if we brought that up in staff meeting? I remember, of course, you're male, 17, you got to look cool. Oh, sure. Yeah. That staff meeting, I thought he forgot. Halfway through, he hadn't said anything. And then all of a sudden, he said to the entire team, he said, Terry came up with something the other day. In fact, he did such a good job of explaining it to me. And I remember looking at him like, no! I don't have any cue cards. I don't have nothing. I don't want any of this, I was looking at him. I was panicked. Don't ask me to do that. And he just looked at me and he said, go ahead. And I just stood up and I looked at him the entire time. Because he had very warm eyes. And I just looked at him and I shared my ideas. Twice that summer they made a change as a result of my input. He helped make me. He helped make me. I will tell you something. I have kept that man in the back of my mind. When we've honored our people today, how many of you agree what we're really doing is honoring the fact of people who are excited about the other people they get to influence? You see, because the exciting thing is I get more excited about people writing me a month later saying, what you said at that meeting really made a difference to me. I love great evaluations. I love all the other kind of stuff. But I realize the real challenge is I could care less whether you evaluate me positively. My concern is, do you do anything different as a result of having attended? I hope one of the things you pick up is that question. Every single week he asks that question. You see, I think a leader is known by the questions you consistently ask far more than anything you will ever say. The first time you come back from this conference and you ask the question to your people, what's been working for you? I will tell you their response privately. They will say to themselves and to others, they've been to a HEMA seminar. Humor them, it will go away in a week, really. Just let them have their way, they're acting bizarre. If you persevere in asking that question, it begins to change the entire team. Most of us have become so problem-focused, we are only focused on the problems. We run around as leaders going, got any problems? Any problems? Got any problems? No problems? Back to work. Nobody is asking what's working. I believe if you want to get legitimate energy excited, you want to create hope, you don't come back out there and try and be the candle. You try and be the mirror. You find your teams doing wonderful things. How many of you have people you are so proud to have on your team? How many of you can think of people, without them, you just couldn't do it? You know it's even changed your prayers. Every night you get down on your knees and you go, let them live, please. Take me, I'm a leader.
In all of my programs, I use the vehicle of humor. And there's a reason. When you talk about change, there's a lot of discomfort, oftentimes a sense of conflict. People are sitting in their seats and they're saying, oh, he's talking about me. Then if you say a funny story and everybody laughs, you know you're not alone. You see, I find that when people can take insights and wrap it around humor, as long as it's appropriate and you make a point, you have a winning strategy. Here's another story that uses humor and makes a point.
How many of you would agree, if people don't understand why something is happening, they fight change? They fight it. You ever been in a meeting where somebody announced a change and everybody in the room looked at each other going, what? What the hell are they doing this for? People put their heels in and they go, I don't want to move. Let me give you the opposite of that. How many of you have had times you knew a change was necessary and they weren't doing it, and it bugged you? You knew the need was there. And then they finally announced the change and you go, duh! Here's the problem with speed of change and information technology. A lot of the people you're trying to change don't even know what you're capable of doing. They don't know the problems you answer. See, when you go to a movie, how many agree? Music plays a role in movies, doesn't it? A James Bond flick, there's a new one coming out soon. Whenever he goes in a great hotel room, they have these wonderful hotel rooms for him. I don't know how he gets the budget for that and as a spy. But as soon as he goes in, you know it's not a good deal because the music changes. You know somebody's in there with him. Oh. Everybody in the audience is going, I know there's somebody there. We fall for it every time. If it's a lousy movie, I just say out loud in the theater, can't you hear the music? Get out of the room! Get out of the room! Wouldn't it be nice if life gave you music? How many of you would enjoy that? Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you came to work and as soon as you open the door, okay. Gonna be a tougher day today. The real challenge is, here, please understand something. If you're a leader, you're the music.
I also know what you want from a speaker. You want a message that fits your audience. Timely information, practical solutions that they can use right away. One of the things that I like to do is I like to talk to the executives of your company prior to a program. I like to know what their business goals are. What's the vision they're trying to drive their people towards? I also sometimes like to come early enough so that I can hear the executives speak to the group. I include many times their quotes in my PowerPoint presentation. I want to make sure that we're on target. I also love using penetrating stories because that's what people remember. It's what inspires them, it's what entertains them, and it gives them memory hooks that allows them to retain the information sometimes years afterwards. I've had years of experience as a speaker. I have a lot of stories. I have stories to match your needs. Here's another one I'd like you to listen to. People crave a direction even if it's wrong. Let me know at least somewhere I'm going. You see, I like to say to people, if you wait until you have total clarity of where you're going in the future, you will never arrive at it. There are too many things totally outside of our control. What the government does, what our vendors do, what is demanded of us is going to change. What technology comes onto the plate that could radically change and transform everything. I don't control those things.
What I try and do as a leader is I say, let me give you 10 to 15 degrees of focus. We're going to do enough different things in that area so that by the time we move, we're going to be at least within the right framework, and if we have to make course corrections, we will. I was talking to a pilot at a cocktail party. He was not going to be flying. It was in the Los Angeles area, but he was really frustrated with his company. And I was talking with him. He found out I dealt with change. I was not using PowerPoint or overhead. I felt it was overkill for the party. But I'm talking to this guy, and he said, what you talk about in change is very much like flying. And I said, no, I've never made that connection. He said, did you realize in the trip from Los Angeles to Hawaii, we are 98% of the time off course? Now, I'd had a couple of drinks. And I fly a lot, right? You know, I'm out there flying a lot. And I just said to him, no. I never realized that. What airline do you fly? But it's a trick question. We're probably 99.9% of the time off course. I said, help me understand. He says, it's an engineering principle. As soon as there's movement, there's error. As soon as there's movement, there's error. As soon as there's change, there's error. He says, if you're trying to get a perfect direction, as soon as you move, you're slightly left or slightly right. But our equipment is so good. It lets us know a slight course correction, so we make that course correction quickly and we move on to the next. You draw it to scale between coordinates all the way there, and it'd be a very simple drawing. It's the same way when you drive at 60 miles an hour. How many of you agree? A straight road, best engineered vehicle. What does your hand have to do? Back and forth. If you don't believe me, try it. Get on a straight road and just lock your hand and accelerate to 60. You'll feel pressure to move your hand. If you don't plan on moving your hand, use a company vehicle. One that's fully depreciated. That's when you're going 60 miles an hour. If you're going 600 miles an hour, you better make course corrections. You know what he told me? He says, I'm so frustrated. He said, if we flew to Hawaii the way our leaders are running our company, we would never get to Hawaii. I said, what do you mean? He says, we don't get information. We read more in the papers about what's happening than we hear from anybody else. And you want to know something? He says, we'll have an annual meeting and they just tell us how bad we've done. It's really exciting. Every year we go there and get depressed. Then we read the papers. I don't think we're going to make it. And they didn't. He said, but if I flew a plane the way they're running their company, that'd be like if I said to autopilot, why don't we just check where we are every hour? How many of you agree at 600 miles an hour, this isn't good? They're moving at 600 miles an hour outside of LA. They come on, we're going to Bora Bora. Shoot! An hour later, Alaska, the Philippines, Japan, the Soviet Union. 25 minutes outside of Hawaii, you would run out of fuel. How many of you agree that is a motivator? Who are the only ones that know what is going on? Let's face it, when you're on a plane, you don't know anything. You're sitting there with your macadamia nuts and your Mai Tais, you know, hey. Aloha. They're behind that locked door that is now even more locked. They only come out to eat and pee. That's all they do. Go back in real quick. And what are they? They're looking at all the data, and what are they saying to themselves? Doesn't look good, does it, Charlie? I don't think we have enough fuel to get to Hawaii. Then 15 minutes before we reach the point of no return, they come on the loudspeaker and say, unfortunately, due to our miscalculation, we do not have enough fuel to reach Hawaii. Aloha. Now we are running these numbers through again, and we realize that if enough of you will leave the aircraft right now, we're going to make it in on fumes. We want you to know that some of you have been watching Survivor. We want to give you that kind of experience. We're going to throw a dinghy out first. If you come back and you land on that dinghy and you come into the Hawaii, we will have headline news there. You will get coverage. You will be a survivor. How many of you agree? That's a hard sell. Here's the thing I want you to know. If you are involved in information technology, you're into giving people the information they need to make the course corrections that are important for that organization. That is a mission that is critical. How many of you agree in a world where you are concerned about winning the game, you want to know the score?
Anyone can work to get a standing ovation. I'm more interested in motivating people to make lasting changes. You see, we're all interested in return on investment. And what that means is they don't just enjoy the program. They make changes that last. You see, I always focus in every program on keepers. I get people to isolate 2 to 3 change areas that they plan on actually doing. I then give them strategies on how to make sure that those changes do work. I love getting letters from people, sometimes 3, 4 months down the line, where they talk about what difference that program has made. I look forward to getting a letter from you, because I'd like to partner with you to make your next meeting a success. Thank you for listening. Now, if you'd like to see the entire tape to make sure we haven't just picked the best parts, stay tuned. I think you'll enjoy seeing the whole presentation. Thanks again for watching.